Yourself, Honorable Mngango, 40 minutes. Honorable Sauls, 40 minutes. Followed by Honorable Vessels and Honorable James, respectively. The latter two will get 20 minutes each. So the time allocated is between 16 hours and 18 hours. I want to wish you good luck, honorable members, the four of you. You will come in that order.
Thank you. Their witnesses.
No, you must ask the question, Honorable Mngango. We are proceeding. The witness has been warned about the time yesterday. We can't warn him about the time again today. Just put the question.
He's going to respond to my question, Honorable Chair.
Yeah. When you have asked your question, I will tell you who is going to respond to your question.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Because I'm worried about your time. We can't reverse the clock.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Good afternoon, Mr. McBride.
Good afternoon.
Paragraph 18.1 of your evidence in chief.
Is that the affidavit, sir?
Yes.
Okay, 1 second.
You actually visited the Minister Mkuno, together with Mr. Nkabinde. And that is what actually he told us when he was actually here.
Yes, sir.
But what was the purpose of your visit? Do you know?
Oh, the visit was, he's the complainant, and he was complaining there was abuse of powers by DPCI, KZN, and he wanted to talk to me directly about it. Or so Cedric said. So I came there and Cedric went in to see if it's okay, and I went in and he explained to me what happened here. But I was also anxious to see him again since our last meeting, which was before I suspended, and in which we had done a presentation on the Pandey matter and the Ngobeni matter to him and to MEC Willis Mkun.
But do you know what actually put the minister on the line of Hawks investigations?
Oh, I think it's just mischief making. It's mischief making because the matter was closed by DPCI before and by a prosecutor that was dealing with the matter beforehand. And at some stage out of the blue, someone just opened the case again to have a go at the minister. Well, he was not minister then, but Mkunu Senzo. So for me, that is wrong. You gotta come clean to an investigation with, and I say so in my information note to Minister Trele, that this took place, and this is the outcome. The only difference I have, I sort of don't remember it as in 2017, or was it early 2018?
The visit to the minister was in actually 2017.
Yeah. So I would imagine it's early 2018, just after the changes. Reason being is when I sent the info note is February or March 2018, and but this is me analyzing what. It's neither here nor there what Nkabinde said. That's what's in 18. It's a summary of his evidence.
Thank you. Would you have any idea why the former minister Peggy Tele did not actually renew your contract?
Yeah, it's two aspects. One is the fake complaint by Nkabinde, and the second one is the allegation which which Philip Mhlongo from the fighters informed me about.
Okay.
And I put a complaint in on that matter when I became aware of it. It was obviously too late. The non-extension had taken place. So I just mentioned it in passing what happened, but I think it's in July 2019. I can't remember the end of June or during July, I sent off the complaint. Should be in the bundle somewhere. The complaint to the IGI. I'm not sure where it is now.
Yeah, I know that my colleague actually asked a question related to what I'm also going to ask, because to me, there is a little bit of a puzzle here. It's interesting that to know that IPID is actually structured in a way that you also have offices in the provinces and nationally.
Yes.
And I was trying to understand why Dr. Mahlaba actually took all the trouble to travel to your office to report a matter which he could easily have done so in KwaZulu-Natal, Durban or Pietermaritzburg, wherever your offices are.
I think
And
ultimately,
when he is there, he
Yes, sir.
specifically wants to report his matter to the executive director.
I think he wanted it to be taken seriously, and I'm not sure whether KZN was not taking it seriously. In any event, the way I understand it, it was sent back to KZN. So Mandla, I only found out recently, Mandla took it to KZN again, and they investigated together with the murder of Sindiso Makatla. So, and there were some similarities between that case and a case of a Sergeant Mhlongo about the modus operandi. So the three cases were sort of running together at the time. And by the time I left, I didn't have a registered outcome of that investigation. But Mahlaba, I met him. It was my first time meeting him. I met him subsequently in KZN on a number of occasions. Yeah.
Thank you. In paragraph 26, you stated that, and I quote, "I don't know General Mphangazitha."
Yes.
Is the statement true? Do you really do not know this man?
No, I don't know him. I know about him, and I know of his involvement in interfering, let's put it mildly first, interfering in IPID investigation. And I know him from the meeting with Ria Piecha and Minister Ntlego.
Yeah. So it may not be entirely true that you actually do not know him, because he was present at the meeting where you were also present, where you had where the Minister Ntlego was actually introducing himself to the top management of the police.
Yeah, but I don't know him. I saw him there. He made a statement which seemed like a big complaint, but I don't know him. There are many other senior cops there. I don't know them.
Okay, you also referred to an incident where you say General Mphangazitha, and I quote, played undue and prosecutable role
Yes.
in the investigation of a matter involving General Pahlane.
Yes.
Why did you not charge him for defeating the ends of justice?
That process is, I think, is still being looked at, but I don't direct or dictate which way an investigation goes, or indeed the prosecution thereof is something that takes place at the NPA. So I don't know the status of it. The head of investigations don't know. So I don't dictate which investigations to take or follow through.
far as you are concerned, there is no formal investigation that is underway
Not that
with
I'm aware
regards
of,
to this.
but and that's why I say prosecutable based on the evidence before us. There is sufficient evidence to warrant a prosecution or at least an inquiry within the caste system.
Because one would be concerned that a statement like this is actually part of your evidence in chief, which you presented here under oath, and yet it's not based on any particular facts. And there is not even a case opened against him for doing this thing that is alleged to have been done.
I'm not sure a case has been opened or not, but it's my professional opinion that indeed there's a case to answer for, whether it's as a disciplinary or whether it's as a prosecution. And the simple answer is, why did you interfere? Why did you promise gratification for disturbing the investigation? And that is my view right now as I'm before you, Honorable Nwangu.
Thank you, McBride. What happened to the IPIT investigation around the procurement of bulletproof vests? Where is that investigation?
I don't think we bought bulletproof vests. The bulletproof vests, the only one I know is the one about, is that Mpangazitha, even Nathan Kistia, Masemola involved in, not IPIT. It was just an investigation of what we call I-view investigation, because it involves the company of Ibenat and Kistia, but it's not us, it's them.
Yesterday, you actually also responded to a question about the people who were convicted for the murder of Mandla Masla. Are there any members of SEPS that are part of that group?
No. The person's surname is, if I remember off the top of my head, is Sitole, the guy who was convicted. I think he's also like a minor in Gabi. But I don't know whether there's any minor in Gabi if he kills. It's always major.
Thank you. Can you share with us how promotions are conducted within SEPS, especially at the level of generals? Who appoints generals?
Well, there is a section, I think it's called Section 35. People can jump ranks also. And on the prerogative of the National Commission, he can promote anybody he wants to. So whilst there's been normal processes, you have these other processes at senior place, which override the normal good practice of advertise, apply, shortlist, interview.
Just trying to figure out how could Lieutenant General Mpangazitha and or Homo, I mean, how would they have been able to actually promote Kabinde and those other guys whom they were promising ranks within SEPS?
So there's a woman called Sandra Tema who had an investigation against her, something to do with the police college. She was a brigadier, Tema. She resigned when it became too hot, and she came back whilst Patlani was the acting national commissioner, and she became a general, a major general. She eventually got fired for racism. Her house often served as a meeting place between Kistia, Mabula, Patlani. Mpangazitha himself visited there, according to my knowledge and what I've seen, once that I'm aware of. So the house was the meeting point, and how we came across it, we are following the movements of people, historical movements of people who just all disappear at the same place. They all switch their phones off at the same place. We didn't know what happened there. Is there something blocking the signal or what? And we looked around, took us about 3 weeks. We eventually found the place where it's at. And people applied for 205s to get information, who belongs there, who are all the people. And a name came out, and through cooperation with the estate managers, we find the people I've mentioned had visited it, some of them at the same time.
Well, thank you, Mr. McBride. In fact, all I wanted was whether or not these people, Mkhwanazi and Homo, would have been able to actually honor their promise by appointing Mahlangu into one of the positions. So now you have answered that, in fact, it is the prerogative of the National Commissioner to appoint general. Okay. Can we move on to the rendition case? You have indicated that a report recommending the criminal prosecution of Generals Dramat and Spear was issued by IPID 2 months before your appointment. And without your knowledge, can you explain to the committee how such a consequential report could be finalized and released without the awareness of or oversight of the incoming executive director, and what this suggests about governance and accountability within IPID at the time?
Yeah, so the incoming executive director arrived on the 3rd of March. The first report, as it were, the incomplete one, was 23rd of January. And the second one was 28th of February, about 6 days or so before the incoming executive director arrived. And on the 4th, I can't remember sequence of events where the Minister Mtetwa asked me to find out in preparation, but on the 10th already of March, I'd given him a briefing and update in an information note. But from the 4th, I was getting briefing about cases, what's the status, and asking questions. And in Kuba's affidavit to the Zondo Commission, he mentions, I raised concerns about the independence of the investigation, the interference of Minister Mtetwa, Jenny, Irish Koboshiani, and crime intelligence basically, and Mosing, a prosecutor, SPP. So I raised it. Oh, is this how you do it? I mean, are you not independent? Is the IPID Act, am I mistaken, or is the IPID Act in place or not? And then Kuba told me, no, he was under immense pressure. It was difficult. Even at one stage, someone told him that, don't worry, Mtluli is following you. And out of fear, he asked. And also the fact that he was told at some stage, don't involve Sesoko in the matter. And Sesoko was also not aware, even though he was in IPID, what was going on. So one day, Kuba asked Sesoko, can you please accompany me? I'm scared. These guys, they want to meet me at a garage on the side of the road. And that's when he went and saw what it was. There was a prosecutor, I think the prosecutor was Billy Moletsi, and either Mosing or another one met him on the side of the road, completely unusual. Sesoko is a very proper person, does things completely right. So he found it weird. And then when when I was being briefed by Kuba, I asked for Mr. Sissoko to come down. And then Mr. Kuba explained all the things again and what had preceded him being asked to go with him to meet at a garage somewhere on the side of the road. So there clearly was sufficient interference, incompleteness of report for me to say, go and review it and complete and add what other evidence is missing. I can't sign off on something that doesn't make sense.
Okay, thank you. I'm worried about my time. You also stated that upon reviewing the rendition investigation, it became apparent that it had not been conducted independently due to the influence of crime intelligence. Could you elaborate on the nature and extent of this influence, including how it manifested operationally and whether this interference actually compromised IPID's, constitutional mandate to conduct impartial investigations?
Yeah, seemingly Colonel Madilongo, sorry if I get the name wrong, arrived to the acting ED, Kuki Mbeki's office. And Kuki called Kuba, and he already had a docket with him, which was almost completed. That is crime intelligence guy. He later on argues, no, I was not in crime intelligence, I was in detectives. But either way, he portrayed himself as crime intelligence, and it was believed. So the acting ED of IPID, Kuki Mbeki, according to what I've been told Kuba he must work with this crime intelligence person, but must not involve Sissoko. So those are the circumstances in which the independence was infected, if I can use that word, or affected. As such, I couldn't sign on something that's already contaminated.
But this led to 2 reports actually being submitted to the minister. One recommending that Generals B and Ramath should actually be charged criminally.
And that was wrong.
And that you subsequently came in and then you produced together with Sissoko a report which actually exonerated the 2 generals from any wrongdoing. And that led to your suspension by the minister. Can you elaborate how was it possible that contradictory reports could actually emanate from one IPID?
What is a report? A report is the investigator's opinion about what transpired for him to arrive at his conclusion. Now, SAPS detectives do the same thing, except it's 3 lines long. And all IPID does now, which is a habit that came over from ICD, is give a long explanation about it. That's why some of the reports they started, he will say this, that is an analysis of what the witness statement. So that's first of it. Its value is dependent on what is contained in the docket, not in the report. Report is not part of docket. It's usually attached to the docket as an explanation, as the view, the opinion of the investigator. The docket cannot be touched. If you touch a docket, that becomes problematic because the docket is where the evidence is. So, I mean, that's the first issue. So it's important to understand that. And the second part of your question, there was an important point.
Understand why it was possible for 2 reports, contradictory reports, to emanate from one IPID organization.
Yes. That's critical. Because the one report had incomplete evidence factored into it, And the final report had all the evidence factored into it. That's the reason why. And the so-called first report could not have been a valid report, as your cell phone analysis report was not factored into the reasoning, the deliberations to come to the outcome. So that's it. And
Thank
it was
you.
actually corrected by me that such madness should not take place again.
Thank you. You referred to information provided to you by Mr. Kuba regarding the pressure to recommend prosecution, allegedly exerted by Advocate Anthony Mosing,
Yes, sir.
who was said to work closely with crime intelligence. Can you clarify who applied this pressure, through what channels and for what apparent purpose? And whether this constituted an attempt to manipulate IPID's prosecutorial recommendation?
Yes, indeed. So it was an attempt to manipulate IPID's prosecutorial recommendations or not. And that's clear what it was. And the secrecy involved, the non-involvement of the head of investigations will give an indication that something is amiss. And indeed, that's what was wrong. So when Sissoko now became aware of the situation and took over, we did not experience any problems after that.
Thank you. But the minister went ahead to suspend both of you on the basis of that. And in your statement, in paragraph 56, you are actually saying the minister's action was actually politically motivated. Can you substantiate that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. The political motivation was to target Dramat because Dramat had okayed an investigation into the use of Secret Service funds from crime intelligence for a renovation at the former president's house. Now, my understanding is that renovations are taking place at heads of state or senior ministers' places to improve security. That can take place, but you use public works to do that, not funds of the Secret Service account. So that's a problem. So how do you now rectify something that's very wrong? You get rid of the people who are investigating. So the target's Dramat. Me, I landed in there the wrong time. So myself, Sibia, we all got lined up together. So neither Sibia nor Dramat or myself were involved in the investigation of the renovations. I think Parliament took over those renovations. I mean, later on at a later stage, I remember seeing a fire pool taking place in Parliament, a demonstration with lovely opera music playing to show how wonderful it is when the firemen are able to put out fires. And that was all part of the same thing. Now that these other guys are gone, now I can do another spin on it, a narrative, a fire pool, swimming pool at the home of a head of state or senior government official is not a security. It's not a security aspect of it. It's not a security implement. In fact, with the same amount of money used, you could have built a mansion that's super safe. Now you have, I'll tell you this because I said it directly to people in the family. I said, how could you allow people to misuse the old man to come with this idea? So they put beams. They put electric wire. They put special fence. They put all of that around. Never mind the pool and amphitheater and all of that. So 21st century technology, right? All weird and wonderful. But a guy other side the fence can use a prehistoric methodology to burn the whole place down with a bow and arrow with a fire tip, which goes over your beam, over your electric fence, over your security fence. So it's a waste of money. So I mentioned that directly. And the answer I got from the person I was speaking to is, no, it's true what you're saying. It's true what you're saying. I'll speak to the old man. Because it doesn't make sense. It's like, for me, it's always, they say number one says, but they're setting up the principles for something.
Well, thank you, Mr. McBride. The Patlane tasked him. General Patlane is actually charged at the instance of Mr. Paul O'Sullivan and Pop Crew on the 22nd of March 2016. And Mr. Sullivan brings the matter to your attention. And I would imagine that he actually wanted your personal supervision to ensure that this this matter actually does not disappear. Is that true?
I would understand that as the executive director, he'd bring it to me because there's been no action or feedback to deal with the matter. So as head of the organization, that's how it would be put on my desk, because whoever was there before, namely Kamanyani, didn't do anything about it. So go to the next person and say, where's my complaint? So it's not about me taking personal attention on it. It's a serious complaint. But the issues he's charged for, I heard, Honorable Member, that you mentioned he was charged for. The issues he's charged for involve investigations where had very little, if any, to do with the investigation. There's two cases which go on trial this year, which he's attempted over and over and to slip out of. But that's what he's charged for. The other matters, my understanding is, they're still in progress. The prosecution's been prepared in progress.
Already, Mr. Sullivan was busy investigating the National Commissioner. And in actual fact, there were two parallel investigations, one by IPID, one by himself as a civilian.
Well, my understanding of the desktop analysis that O'Sullivan did and throwing around figures and stuff is completely incomplete before you get tight forensic documentation and analysis. Now, apparently that has been obtained. And none of the evidence which is used in the prosecution, is my understanding, or the prosecution to come, has anything to do with Paul O'Sullivan's reports or complaints. He lit the fuse. Now the fire that rages is a fire of what the forensic investigators do. Forensic investigators, which he doesn't know. Independent forensic investigators. And all of that is evidence related to the Patlane prosecution. So, yeah.
And this forensic investigator you are referring to, which is Paul Sullivan, accompanies your people to General Patlane's place. Is it the standard operation procedure of IPID to involve civilians in your operations?
So firstly, the forensic investigators and analysts I'm talking about. It's not Paul O'Sullivan. It's other people whose documents are there. All Paul O'Sullivan did was to light a fire where there was no warmth happening. That's what he did. And it brought attention to a matter. And the circumstances in which they came there, I've explained. I cannot do more than explain what I was told. I was not there. And I saw no need to reprimand anybody on that matter because they explained to me the rules they used to acquire information. And that's the name of the game. You find information. Go to whoever, ask, see places.
Who put together the Pahlane task team? Was it the executive director or some other?
Oh no, it's probably Mandla who put the team together because Mandla was given the case and he pulled in Cedric, but he pulled in the other two investigators. And I don't second guess people or micromanage, and I encourage initiative. That's how I get work done.
Could also include the appointment of Nkabinde as the lead investigator in General Pahlane's case.
Oh, except Kabinde took the lead himself.
Not being appointed.
No, he was appointed. The process involved him being seconded from KZN to the task team.
Where did the fallout actually occur between IP and Nkabinde?
Or when Nkabinde was found out to be double dealing, being a double agent, and going against his own investigation. A simple case is KGB Chabalala, Morris Chabalala, who was convicted of cash and transit robbery at some stage till jail time, got fired then, but came back, was rehired by crime intelligence, and was known to be involved in a number of, together with Nemo Tanzela, who was now fired, a number of illicit transactions. So he was arrested by Nkabinde. So Nkabinde then, as the IO, submits evidence to the court why bail should be denied as an arresting officer. At a subsequent hearing, after Nkabinde reaches out to the lawyers of KGB, suddenly Nkabinde comes with a different story. And his story is basically saying, no, this is just a plot, it's a scheme, political motivated. Now, I was not there to arrest KGB. I don't even know the details of the case. I know it's involving abuse of slush fund, the Secret Service account. So the same guy who arrests him, happily on TV, holding him by his arm when he has arrested him, he's the one that called Michael Apple to witness his arrest because he wanted to make himself famous. He did it himself while the guy was going for parole, to register for parole. They got hold of him, arrested him. They had the proper documentation, took him off to prison. A funny thing that happened while KGB was at Pretoria Central Police Station, Pahlane visited him at some stage. Now, that's not me saying that. That is cell phone forensic analysis report saying so. And then he turns around, that is Nkabinde, and he says, no, this was just a makeup. But
Thank you so much. May we please pass the microphone to Honorable Sauls.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Time starts now, Honorable Sauls.
Thank you, Chairperson. Mr. McBride,
Sir.
indulge me for a minute. As a black boy in general, and the Bushman African in particular, from Eldos, that has been classified by the apartheid regime as a colored, I want to say thank you on behalf of every colored child in this country who has been told coloreds has not contributed to the struggle against apartheid. Thank you. Thank you for being the physical proof that that's a lie. Like Anton Franch, like Ashley Krill, like Stanley Lolan, and your comrade in arms, Mr. Gordon Webster, and Mr. Beck Ngubani, who was shot 5 times in the back by coward apartheid police. Mr. Webster survived. He was hospitalized under heavy apartheid police guard. Yet you, showing great bravery, you did what we young boys in Eldos only saw on TV. You rescued Mr. Webster out of Edendale Hospital. You are a living hero. I can sit in Parliament today because of your sacrifice. Mr. McBride, salute and thank you. You see, many of us also considers General Mkhwanazi as a hero for going public to expose the rotten seps. See, the thing about heroes is that even heroes has holes. Even Jesus was a hero with holes. But what makes Jesus a true hero is that when Thomas doubted him, he was prepared to make doubting Thomas touch his holes. Heroes should not be untouchable. And that is what this committee process is for. I'm a doubting Thomas. I don't trust anyone. And through my questioning, I want to touch the holes in your hand. Now we have no sides. My colleagues has already asked questions that points to some of your holes and you responded to it. I'm now going to focus more on the other side so that there's balance. Yes, I don't trust anyone, but I'm hopeful about your testimony. I'll tell you why. Because one thing I know about liberation fighters is 2 things. You were not trained by apartheid police. And it's hard for you to sell out and betray the country you gave your life for. Mr. McBride, my first question to you. General Khumalo testified that General Sibiya is linked to a serial hijacker known as Stuart Shanik, who because of this relationship with the general, his criminal records was erased from the SEPS system. Do you know whether this is true or not?
Firstly, Honorable Sauls, I know Stuart Shanik. In investigating the underworld with the construction mafia in KZN, the malfeasance at the port at Richards Bay, and who the main players are. Stuart Shanik gave me a good overview, and that overview assists in understanding the size and the nature of the monster of construction mafia. So he played an invaluable role. I know he's not an angel. I know he has a past. My My understanding of him is that he's changed and he wishes to work for justice and law and order. And I might be wrong, but I know him and he gave me something which I didn't know about how rotten the various apples are. And I'm still referring to his briefing that I got. So, yeah, that's what Stuart told me. At some stage, I had asked him about his background in detail because he had volunteered that he was not an angel and that he had previous problems with the law in his past. And I basically questioned him very hard what it was. And so Shanik explained to me the issues involving cars and all of that, and that he had been to prison and so on. So most people in my township have been to prison. It's a nature of a socioeconomically depressed society. So I advised him at that stage, if you want to pull yourself straight, you got to get expungement on your records so that you become a valuable member of society and you can contribute. South Africa is a place of second chances. So this is your second chance. I will never give you another chance. In fact, on Shanik, I introduced him to General Sibia because I was not getting the support I needed to do the necessary work I needed at that time in the dangerous area I was working in. The area that's involved in people assassinating competitors for tenders, business people, anyone who stands in the way. And I believe in the who of crime. There are no aliens that kill people. And on a lighter note, either legal or illegal, I would draw that statement, immigrants. But it's not aliens, it's human beings that do it. Human beings do crime. Someone we know, a mother, father, sister, cousin. So you need to locate who that person is, and the information is all there. The information is in the community, and you have to work in the community. That is my approach. So I've given you a quick synopsis about Stuart Shanik. I don't know if that's sufficient, sir.
Except for whether you know anything about whether there is truth in the statement that his criminal record was erased, irregularly so.
No, my understanding is no. I think you got a lawyer or somebody to write to the necessary place, which everybody does for expungement. When there's a matter and if he's no longer under custodial sentence. I don't know exactly the law, but that was done. What I do know, though, is that when he appeared behind Sibia, the whole of the police service in KZN was activated to find something on him. That's a fact. And my view is that if he's still involved in wrong things, it's your own business. That's the issue. But there was a scramble to get information to discredit him, and by association, Sibia also. Now, that guy came and support Sibia with security in addition to the lawyers, because it's time for for people getting killed now. In Madlanga, someone testified and got murdered. For me, I've been on death row for a long time, so I'm still on death row. So any time is tea time. I don't mind. This might be my last appearance before Parliament, but it's because I live for something that's important for me, which is anti-corruption. I don't know how much time you got, Honorable Member. I can expound on that and the link between apartheid and corruption.
Yeah, I don't have much time, Mr. McBride, but I definitely would want to hear more on that. In paragraph 23 of your affidavit, you mention a complaint by former Newcastle Mayor, Dr. Maslaba. Maslaba, yes. In paragraph 23. What do you want us to know about that briefly?
Oh, is 18.3, sir?
No, in your affidavit, paragraph 23.
23, 1 second, sir. Oh, the only issue there, sir, is that I don't know General Khumalo. I don't know how good he is. Some of what he mentioned here made sense on the times I heard him. But there was this complaint against him. I don't know the outcome. My understanding is that at some stage, SAP settled with Maslaba when he took them to court. And I don't know the exact extent. Subsequent to this event, I met Maslaba in KZN and I asked him about this, and he didn't deny anything that I put here.
But is your testimony by mentioning that in your affidavit that the PKTT, specifically involving General Khumalo, was involved in a formal complaint of assault?
Yes.
You mention in your affidavit, paragraph 27, that the other time that you heard about General Mpangazitha was when IPET was investigating what you call the I-View 3 allegation.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that.
Well, the I-View 3 allegation is about the elevated costs per unit of bulletproof vests. And that apparently 1,000 were purchased, but Mpangazitha, that name again, was involved in the procurement of the excessively expensive bulletproof vests. And initially 1,000 were bought, but because of the inquiry had started, no other purchases were made. And that involved a Paris trip and bags, but the bag is the least of the gratification. Gratification usually takes place when you have excessive cost per unit on any item, whatever it is.
How is that linked to General Mpangazitha?
Oh, well, even nothing Mpangazitha, General Mpangazitha, went to Sandra Tema's house, but also General Mpangazitha was the go-between between the service and Mpangazitha. And that is why they all were up in Paris again, together with General Masamola. I just think, to explain further, I think the other day I heard on TV, I saw a clip where you explained, without being obsequious to you, you explained quite tightly how the musical chairs operated at the senior levels, where you explained this one was provincial commissioner and this one was acting national, and then moving around. Well, sounds to me like people moving in position with a long-term plan to take over, at least from my perspective.
Now, Mr. McBride, I know because of your history, you speak in code, one has to figure out when you speak of a bag here and a parastrip here and how that's linked to bulletproof. I want us to be very direct and try and simplify it for us, what it is that you are saying. Are you saying that General Mkhwanazi was involved in a trip to Paris together with General Masambula? And where does a bag fit in? And how is that linked, very briefly?
So the bags are a small symptom of the bigger gratification, which, as far as I'm aware, at that time, presentation was done to Parliament, but I was not aware of the extent of it. All I knew is that the bags, which were priced at Louis Vuitton, I don't know what the prices are. Everyone got a bag, about 7 people, and we've got some testimony about that. And there was aspects of the procurement which was irregular, like the Dallas, like...
So General Mkhwanazi got a Louis Vuitton bag?
Yes.
From who?
My understanding is a person related to the service provider, the person providing the... I can't remember the name offhand. But there's a statement by a Colonel Russ who returned one of the bags, and the bag is in the evidence lock at IDEC.
All right.
So it's not without foundation. Someone who was there made testimony that so-and-so and so-and-so got bags. I also got a bag, but yeah, it is. And they didn't declare it in the gift or benefit register. So alarm bell.
In paragraph 21 of your affidavit, you call the July 6 media conference by General Mkhwanazi, I quote, open quote, military-style media conference, close quote. What do you mean by this and why is it important?
Well, police members serve the public, and police members, for accountability purposes, and I can expand on that, why there is greater scrutiny of police than anybody else in society. They must wear their names here so you can identify who is engaging with you. They didn't have names on them, the guy standing behind him. They were all masked up, looking ready for war. The language was, if it's not done in courts, it's going to be done on the streets. We are ready. And General Mkhwanazi explained in Matlanga Commission that, well, it was a show of force. So the timing of it was, okay, president's out of the country. He's gone. You don't do shows of force against a sitting president and the constitutional order. For what purpose? I mean, that is like really crazy. So the optics of the matter was intended to intimidate the rest of society because he didn't get his way on what? On closing down of one. Someone got arrested and some unit got closed down and blah, 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 blah. They closed down National Special Investigating Team at IPID while I had left IPID. I didn't go and do a media conference with a big gun and all of that and dress up, like I'm a military man. I know I demobilized in show of force. It was conspicuously absent. So that's a point I'm making, is our message is very strong. And when the general appeared before Human Rights Commission, and he was asked about the 350 people who were killed, 350 black lives, he said they should have stayed at home. So that is like very cold and indifferent, but is consistent with all the uninvestigated shootings in KZN.
Mr. McBride, is the slush fund being abused by crime intelligence?
Sir, by all accounts, it has never been not abused. It has never been not abused. That's what the scramble is for. Control of that, you control people, you control other policemen, you control generals, you control politicians with that. Because politicians, we know now from evidence that sometimes they will use the money for their own ends. The Crime Intelligence Fund, if, for example, someone important in society has a child or a partner who's involved in an indiscretion, get your crime intelligence buddy to buy the problem off. That's what's happening.
Is that what General Khumalo is doing with the slush fund?
Oh, I don't know exactly what he's doing the slush fund at the moment. I know there's a matter of buildings that were purchased, or I think someone said hotels, but I have not been involved in that investigation. I think that might be the reason, or it's one of the reasons why there was a rumor they might get arrested. But you don't use the Secret Service fund for buying buildings. You use it to protect sources or to set up run companies. That's what you use it for. And you go through a proper process so you can set it up. You also don't buy buildings, because what if your agents get blown? What, you want to sell the whole building? If your agents get blown and you're there, you just up and go and your operation can run again. If you've bought the building, you're still, man, you're not mobile. You're a target. So if you're a tenant in a place under false name, you're right. If it gets blown, your operation, or some co-tenant spots you and realizes who you are, or some cleaner goes into your room and finds a badge or something, operation's blown. So now you must sell the whole building first. Everyone knows who you are. Whereas in the game, once you spend all the time putting a cover building up or a front company, you should be able to get out and move quickly and have some distance people, because the criminals you're spying on, they will realize who you are and they come and whack you. Yeah, that's the name of the game.
Mr. McBride, it is a historic fact that the Khoi and the San is the first defenders of this country. And as a descendant, I want to ask you to continue with that legacy of defending our country that flows in your blood. Thank you, Chairperson.
How much time have you got, sir?
Mr. Robert John McBride,
Sir?
do you have a comment on what Honorable Sauls has said?
Sorry, sir?
Do you have a comment on what he said?
Oh, yeah. So the first battle, anti-colonial battle in South Africa, the first one recorded, there might have been others, was here at Salt River, sir.
Where?
Salt River.
Okay, thank you so much.
And it was de Almeida, the Portuguese explorer or conquistador, who kidnap children so they can be forced to supply sheep or probably cattle also. And as a result, there was a battle there. And confusion on the side of the Portuguese sailors or explorers or occupiers or whatever it is, has resulted in a rout. So 50 of them were killed, maybe twice as much of the indigenous people were killed. But just to follow on that, every ethnic group in South Africa has shown some resistance to imperialism at one stage or another, wherever it's been. So that is why we are a special lot of people. That is why we settled to work together. That's the deal. The deal is a constitutional order. We have brave people across the country who have stood up to oppression or encroachment.
Okay.
To finalize, I come from all of them.
Thank you so much. The next speaker is Honorable Vessels. It's now 10 minutes past 17 hours. Your time will expire at 30 minutes after 17 hours. Your 20 minutes start now.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and good afternoon to Mr. McBride. Chairperson, I think most of the pertinent issues have already been scrutinized at length during these 2 days, but I do need clarity on a few issues. But just a few, I don't even think I'm going to use up all my time. Firstly, if we can go back to Paul O'Sullivan. I do understand that you say that you utilized him, maybe still utilizes him, for intelligence. And that's quite normal. I think it's good practice to use any informant to get information. The question, though, is what did you do, in particular when you were in the position of Executive Director of IPID, to verify that information and to make sure that you're not being fed information to drive a particular agenda?
Okay, so first thing I did would take it to Sissoko always. Sissoko is a very sensible, sober, sounding board, and he will tell me if this thing can fly or not, is it real or not, what additional stuff we need. And we'll do that. We'll say send documents, look at the document. Does the affidavit make sense? Does it take us, and there are many instances when that happened, where it didn't take us from A as information to either intelligence or evidence. It didn't. So there were occasions like that. So we do it. So I could not have achieved the impact in IPID without the team around me. From our corporate services, our CFO, our different provincial heads, our governance people, our auditing people. I would never have been able to work.
It's general practice in intelligence, I think, I've been told, that you get information by giving information.
Only if you're stupid.
But most informants will want something in return. Did you ever give any information? We know, and it's been asked, what does Paul O'Sullivan do for money? You said property and so forth, but obviously he is an investigator. He makes money through investigations. And one thing that he does not have is the access to police sources to get certain information, run a number plate, those type of things. Did you ever, in return for his valuable information, give him information?
No, with Paul O'Sullivan, his juice, what gets him going, is going after corrupt criminals. That's his juice. That's what he sees. You don't have to give him anything. Now, funny enough, that's my juice too. I go after the corrupt. That's my juice. And apartheid system was a lot for a little bit of people to the detriment of a lot of nothing to the other people. Similarly, corruption is about small amount of people benefiting at the expense of the majority of people. Meaning you don't get service if you get pilfering. So corruption is the biggest threat to us at the moment.
You made an important point earlier when you said that with the racketeering charge against O'Sullivan, it failed because he didn't get gratification at the end. So are you convinced that his gratification is to fight corruption? There's nothing else?
Or perhaps in his own self-importance.
Okay. That makes sense. When we talk about corruption, you also mentioned that there's a commitment to be corrupt by many officers and officials in government, but in SAPS in particular. There's also a theory, and I want to get your opinion on that many of the people that expose corruption are corrupt themselves. They are standing behind the door, but they expose the one person because they actually want to get their hands on the purse. Can that be true? Can everybody be corrupt?
You mean they want the chance to eat?
Yes.
Well, people say that now and again. It's our chance to eat. They say like that. The issue is if you're dodgy from the time you're born, you won't change. It's just as simple as that. If you don't believe in corruption, if you have a inbred, innate ethics fiber or integrity fiber, no amount of money will make you bow to corruption. Corruption not sustainable for us, for our children, or the country.
Just one last question on O'Sullivan. Obviously, Nkabinde said, and that was the contestation, that you divulged information. You said you did not. But you also earlier said, in the very beginning this morning, that IPID lacks certain resources. And you mentioned specifically a forensic arm or function. And then you also, at a stage, explained that is what O'Sullivan specializes in. He is a forensic analyst. So did you ever utilize his forensic capabilities?
Honorable Member, if you remember, my testimony was that he precipitates an investigation. So what he gives to an investigation is not sufficient to translate his information and basic analysis into evidential material. That requires a further step of forensic information and involvement of the prosecuting authorities, because you will need to get the necessary documents to authorize you to look for the trail. You need to have, so the information you require, you need legal permission to be able to do it. So you're not going to get it by stealth. It's not admissible in court. It must have a legal origin and must be properly done, and there are prescripts to that effect.
That was a bit of a loose end. So I wanted to just get you to say that clearly, and I think that's clarified then. Then to Nkabinde, there's one issue that I don't understand quite clearly. You yesterday, and I think again today, said that the disciplinary process was stopped because he resigned. Yesterday you used the words, you can't discipline someone who has resigned. But then it's obvious that there was a settlement. And in your bundle, I don't want to whine that this bundle is paginated quite badly. But on RGM 22, the letter from the attorney, the settlement is there. And he resigns basically as part of the settlement. But what I want to check is, firstly, when the Honourable Matthys asked you about the meeting between the attorneys, you said the attorneys met, you weren't there. But we all know that attorneys act on instruction.
Yep.
So they got instruction from IPIT to engage in a settlement discussion.
Yep.
Why?
Well, the approach was he's resigning. That's what he told before the discussion between the attorneys. He told Moses Lamini, I better resign. I can't face this guy. This guy, meaning me, who's going to testify. I'm the first witness to testify. And that resulted in a discussion. Some of my people discussed with me, and I was dead against it. In fact, Nkabinde says so himself, that he knows I wouldn't agree to a settlement. But the issue was, there's a cancer, it's caused damage, cut it out before it spreads.
Okay.
And I was persuaded by that argument. It makes sense to me. The guy is going, he's out of the system. Not more I can do to him except a criminal prosecution later on.
But point 3 of the settlement says our client agrees to the employer's, that's IPIT's, request to withdraw all his complaints, which have been filed in the various forums. So why was that very important to IPIT to have him withdraw those complaints?
Could I please?
This seems, no, Mr.
The
McBride,
number, please, sir.
This seems as though IPIT was very worried about the complaints lodged by Nkabinde at the Public Protector, at all those various forums. And that's why you enter into a settlement. And a settlement is always, you won't talk settlement just to get rid of the cancer. Then you'll bullet him at the disciplinary. Why would you go for a settlement? You only go for a settlement.
Sorry, what number is that on?
That's on RJM 22, page 732.
Is it not also in the affidavit somewhere we quoted?
It's not in the affidavit. Yes, it is quoted in the affidavit, but I don't have that paragraph now. But you'll find it on 732.
$19.2. 1 second, man. Okay. Okay, yeah, that is 90.2 is the paraphrase of it. The issues was Nkabinde took an approach of fire, spread, and pray. Throw the mud and hope it sticks, and cause as much trouble for IPA to get caught up in dealing with this. Dealing with the public protector's report means you have to put it aside while it's going on. So you have to prepare for that. So it involved litigation on that. There was a PSC we were aware of. We need to deal with that. So all the energy which should be used on investigation is now disrupted. You're running helter-skelter because you got probing shots all over, caused by, in effect, a paid agent. So get rid of the cancer, it won't spread further, and we don't have to spend resources on this. So if you notice in part of the plan, in spite of him withdrawing his complaints to the various bodies, so what he did is what we call in disciplinary or mediatory services, forum shopping. You jump a lot of steps and you go somewhere. So that's what he did.
Yes.
And out of that, it means we'd expend energy. The year on my return is 2016, 2017, in preparation for budget, we realized we're going to require a war chest of legal fees. So we moved operational funds for legal fees more than we've ever used before because we anticipated this is where the attack is coming.
I'm going to interrupt you, Mr. McBride. Sorry, but my time is almost running out.
Okay.
I do think, as you also advised General Paklane, that you should actually just have things ventilated and investigated. Otherwise, it stays just allegations. But just let's leave it there. I want to get to one last question. Yesterday, you said that you also had political interference when you started investigating General Paklane. And you then mentioned that it was a member of parliament. You gave the example, you gave the explanation that it was a member of parliament. He's now a minister in the GNU. That you then later answered that it was the Honorable Groenewald. We today saw, and with all due respect, every person has a certain personality. And you have a certain personality and a certain attitude. And certain members earlier today took issue with your attitude. Is it plausible that the Honorable Groenewald threatened you by saying, watch out, pas op, because of your attitude and not because of any trying to intimidate you because of your investigation of General Paklane? Is that plausible?
In the circumstances, no. Now, number one, you got to understand this. I don't participate in my own humiliation. Try and humiliate me, it's going to bounce back at you. That's the first. That's what I learned in life. Life gave me that. I didn't make the rules. So I was standing, leaning against a balcony where we came out of the intelligence briefing. And then he came up to me, threateningly. Maybe in his mind, he was sussing me out, testing me out. Now, an approach to me in a threatening fashion means game on. So in response to that threatening fashion, I said to him, you must watch out. That's what I say. You come for me, I'm a mirror. You treat me politely, I'll be polite with you. And that's the way it is. But the issue of hiding away from ventilation, Cedric's allegations are in this affidavit I did. I didn't try and hide anything. I made it all available. In fact, when I went to court, line by line, we tore apart his allegations and showed them as lies when we went to court to put aside the various allegations. So my way is respect people, and people who disrespect you or try to humiliate you, you do it right back to them. You see how quickly it comes to an end or to a head.
Yes. Would you also agree that at that stage, you would know that there was a lot of controversy about national commissioners, and especially about the fact that a lot of national commissioners did not come through the ranks. And acting National Commissioner Paklane was the first one in a very long time that was a police officer.
Mm.
And there was positive changes made. So do you think that some people that thought this is very strange that there's allegations of corruption was just defending that fact that we are making positive strides with someone who is from police making the correct moves?
So two issues. The first one is, if a person tells you they're a career policeman and they've come up through the ranks and they've been promoted and they're right in the top, within the system that we know exists, that means they bowed to someone, they looked the other way for someone, and they did a favor for someone. In other words, they didn't cause any impact or waves wherever they were. So allowing them to get to the top, there was some kind of exchange of favors. That's my experience. So that's the one issue. You had another question about that? There was double.
I think that's a dangerous inference to make, but no. Let's leave it at that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable James.